Hello to you. I'm Fox 26 meteorologist Ramisha Shade. It's that time of the day again. Time to give you an update on what's happening in the tropics. Fortunately, not as active as last week. Of course, we had the explosion of Hurricane Ian becoming close to a Category 5 hurricane before making landfall, but nothing like that this week, thank goodness. However, there are still a few systems to track, so let's get right to it. We've got two in the Atlantic and one getting close to the Eastern Caribbean, but let's start off with Tropical Depression number 12. This one is still out in the far East Atlantic, and it does have a slight potential to get a little stronger. Overall, though, I'm not really impressed by it. It's kind of encountering what we call shear, kind of helping to tear it apart, and some dry air getting pulled into that system. So I'm not really expecting much from that. And then we also have another tropical wave with a 60% shot for development over the next 2 days and an 80% chance for further development into a tropical cyclone over the next 5 days. This one is getting close to crossing into the Eastern Caribbean. It's just south of Barbados, and that is the one we will watch a little closer because that would be the one that could get closer to us. Let's talk about Tropical Depression number 12 first, though. This one is the one out in the Eastern Atlantic. Currently, maximum sustained winds are around 35 miles per hour, movement to the west-northwest at 10 miles per hour, and we've currently got pressure around 1,007 millibars. Overall, this system is not that impressive, as I've been mentioning. It does have that closed center of circulation. That's why it is a tropical depression, and we'll continue to monitor it, but as I mentioned, it's not really in an environment favorable for development, and models are showing that it's not likely to survive as we get towards the end of the week. So as we go into the next couple of days, it will maintain a little bit of its strength, but I think by the end of the week, it will likely dissipate and become a remnant low as it weakens out in the Eastern Atlantic. So I'm not too concerned about Tropical Depression 12. Yesterday, there were indications that it could possibly blossom and develop into a tropical storm. Then it would have been Tropical Storm Julia, but that has not happened, and models are not really indicating that there's a high chance of that happening. So however, we will watch and monitor that closely, but this is the system we're more concerned about. This is a tropical wave, and it has been slowly but surely making progress to the west across the Atlantic, and now it is just to the south of Barbados and not that far from Caracas, Venezuela. So we do have the potential for a portion of this to kind of brush by northern sections of Venezuela, but overall I think the majority of it will remain over the water and push through the Caribbean over the next several days. So we are going to be monitoring this one closely. Over the last few days, it has been looking a little bit more organized. You can see those dark colors, the reds, the purples. Those are the brighter colors on this map, indicating some of those higher, colder cloud tops. And we will have the potential for the showers and storms in this to continue to develop and maybe get a little more organized, and it could become a tropical depression or a tropical storm as we go into the next few days. The models actually are putting this to the west. The track is to the west. Most of the models on our spaghetti model plot are taking this mainly due west through the Caribbean Sea, and by the end of the weekend, likely on Sunday, making landfall across Central America, likely right around Nicaragua. So that is what we are expecting. None of the models are taking this north and putting it into the Gulf of Mexico, so that is good news. Once it makes landfall in Central America, some of the remnants could get kind of pulled up north a little bit, but the most we would get from it would maybe be a little moisture to cause a few more clouds for parts of next week, but that, I believe, will be about it for us. Sea surface temperatures are definitely warm enough to support a system developing out there. We've still got very warm ocean waters in the Gulf of Mexico. Water temps still in the 80s for most spots. In the Caribbean, we've got those sea surface temps in the low to middle 80s. So there is definitely fuel there for that tropical wave to develop, potentially into a tropical storm or possibly a hurricane. So we'll have to monitor things closely, but I definitely feel that it will survive and at least become a depression. Maybe not in the next day, but at least in the next 2 to 3 days, there's a high likelihood that this system will develop into a tropical depression or a tropical storm. I want to show you our European model forecast, showing you where this will likely be heading, at least this particular model's indications on that path, and we will have this, like I said, pushing to the west through the Caribbean, likely passing south of Cuba, and then by Sunday morning, right around 8:30, the European model has this pushing right into the eastern portions of Nicaragua, and that would mean some heavy rain, potentially a lot of high wind, maybe a few tornadoes with that, and the potential for that flooding and those damaging wind gusts. But overall, it looks like the chance of this making any kind of major direct impact on any area closer to us, right along the Gulf, on the low side. So that is certainly a good thing. Of course, if we do get that tropical wave to develop, or if Tropical Depression 12 gets a little stronger, the next names on the list would be Julia and Carl, so we'll have to wait and see what happens, but I think there's definitely a high chance that we'll at least have Julia as a named storm over the next couple of days. So we're going to be monitoring things closely. Every day that passes by, we're getting closer and closer to the end of hurricane season. So if we can get through the middle of October, I think we are looking great. Still can't totally rule out a tropical system heading towards us, but after the middle of October, the risk for the tropical depressions, tropical storms, hurricanes, much lower. You'll notice that chance really starts to slide down as we get close to November, and then it is even lower throughout November, all the way towards the end of November. So definitely there's still a shot that we could get one of those tropical systems to head our way and impact us, but chances are getting lower day by day. So let's keep our fingers crossed that we escape any major tropical issues this season, and then we'll just have to wait until next season to see what happens. But so far so good, at least for the next 5 to 7 days or so. I don't see any significant impacts from any of those tropical systems. Of course, make sure you have the Fox 26 weather app downloaded on your phone, your tablet. It's a great thing to have. There's so much you can do on there. You can basically decide what you want to keep track of. If you want to check out temperatures in your area, you can do that. If we've got a big rain event rolling in, you can monitor that radar and keep track of where that rain is headed. If we've got watches, warnings, advisories that you need to know about, of course, just pull out your phone, pull out the Fox 26 weather app, and you can have all of that at your fingertips wherever you are. So if you haven't already, make sure to head to the App Store, download the Fox 26 weather app, and also don't forget to visit me as well. I like to see you visit, have a little company on my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find me on Twitter, Ramisha Shade TV, Ramisha Shade Weather for Facebook, and at Ramisha Shade for Instagram. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and stay safe out there.